Recognize the difference between a male and a man. A male looks like a man, talks like a man, sounds like a man, stands like a man, dresses like a man, acts like a man, but it's not a man. Men are able to evaluate the world around them. They are able to protect, provide, profess, and preach in their home, and they're looking for wives. Males cannot do that. The reason is males are always looking for someone to save them. They're always looking for mama to come along, grandmama, dad.
Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of TMC, where we are here to help you take your relationships
from surviving to thriving. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And always remember that sharing is caring.
Today on TMC, we have our very special guest.
Please help me welcome Glenn with how to get great dating outcomes.
I'm really passionate about the relationship space, and we talk about the book, The Middle Ground, how to get great dating outcomes in a modern world. I'm someone who went through the pain that we talked about. I went through a very painful divorce at the end of the 2010s, beginning of the 2010s. And it took me 2 years of intense therapy and, reflection and introspection to gain some of the understanding of one thing. The relationship outcome that I'm looking for is 100% within my control. What ended was my fault.
Yeah.
Wasn't her fault.
Wow.
And when you take it from an ownership standpoint, then you start to do the work to make yourself the best version of yourself. Not in the way that we hear in the relationship space now, because a lot of that is, I'm going to do this and go for the bag so that I can get the outcome that I want. And that is not what ends up happening in any relationship. And if you go into the relationship like that, what ends up happening on the other side is people are now trying to fight to either keep it or fight for their freedom. But I love a lot of the discussion that we're starting to see from individuals who are married, who look for one relationship, one man, one woman, children, and legacy as the long-term outcome, who are starting to add back to the conversation. That's what I believe was in place during the season of my upbringing, from the 80s and the 90s, at the church, at the barbershop, at the family reunion, at the grandmother's house. Yeah. That's where you would get the correction on how to move as you were dating and as you were growing up. And seeing that as a child, as it played out with other adults, I think we eliminated that. And so now individuals are just kind of figuring it out on their own, and they're coming with really selfish intent around how they're going to enter a relationship. And you're never going to get what you look for if you're going to go into a relationship. Selfishness has no place in any relationship, specifically if you're someone who's looking for outcome of marriage.
Yeah. What are some of the things, because you mentioned this, some of the things that's going on right now? I mean, you go on TikTok, their view on relationships is just really, it's a road leading to chaos. So you have, young people, this is what they're hearing because these are the platforms that they are currently on. What would you say to that individual that maybe some myth that they're hearing? Let's talk about some of those myths and how would you correct that if you was to have a conversation with them?
Yeah. So, and I like to always preface this, I'm not a coach, I'm not a consultant, I'm not an image consultant, I'm not a relationship guru. I'm an executive who wrote a book after 20 years of observing how relationships are breaking down.
Yeah.
And, observable reality gives you enough when you do it for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so that's the first thing. The second thing is to answer the question, what are we seeing in the space? Right now, what we see in the space is we are now in an attention economy. Attention.
Yeah.
So meaning we now have traded personal relationships, personal one-to-one connections, strong connections with soft hits of people we don't know. So anyone who's on social media is looking to trend. And they're typically looking to trend. And some of the things that we see in the relationship space is, what is the most triggering thing that I could say that will get me the most views and get me going on TikTok and get me going on Instagram? Like Instagram's a week later.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing right now is the two dynamics of red pill and blue pill. that is really hurting any dialogue and discussion for relationships.
Yeah.
Red pill meaning, as a man, to get a woman, you need to come over here to my side of my way of thinking. I am all of these traditional things, and you need to give me tradition. Blue pill saying, I have the bag, I have my own thing. You need to come over here and get on my program because my program is going to be better than any program I've ever seen with a man.
Mm.
So those are the two things that lead to I can do bad all by myself. Some of the things on my React series I did a couple of weeks ago about Tia Mowry, who's a great person who I met 20 years ago, about her leaving a relationship in order to feel free or graduated. And that starts to spread. We
Yeah.
see some relationship gurus who are giving quick snippets of advice to where it is self promotion and self contained, meaning get what you want out of this. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And when you see that and hear that for the number of hours that most people spend on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, it starts to be the new programming. And so your programming now shows up in your communication with those you're in relationship with the echo chambers and the friend groups that you do have.
Yeah.
And then it starts to be validated as you see more and more examples of why my opinion matters.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the author Robert Greene. He had a
Mm-hmm.
few books, Mastery and The Art of Seduction and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not authentic. It's all these tricks to kind of take advantage of the situation. It's being put out there as well. What is your thought on that, or have you seen
I don't
that?
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like anything that is going to try to use manipulation to get an outcome. I just
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So if your desire is for an outcome of a relationship, the things that we teach over at the middle ground, and that's in the book series for part 1 and 2, is first you have to know who you are,
Yeah.
have to know what you want, know what you qualify for, and by knowing who you qualify for, know what they want from you. Too many people stop at 1 and 2. I know who I am and I know what I want. So since I know who I am and I know what I want, then this is what I'm going to get. So there's a lot of delusion in the marketplace about what the outcome realities are can be for a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
And in our book, we really highlight the biggest breakdown after 1 and 2 is most men don't know what type of man they are. And most women don't know what type of woman they are. And then the most important piece, they don't know who they're dating or who they're attracted to. And because they don't know who they are themselves, and then they don't know who they're dating, we end up with a bunch of mess. And then we hear things like we hear in the space on TikTok. Like there was a clip that went viral last year. The dating pool is dirty. There's PP in the dating pool. Of course there is, because you don't know who you are and you don't know who he is. And because you don't, you guys are incompatible. I'm a Christian. I didn't put that in the headline, but I'm a Christian. I'm a firm believer in biblical teachings. And most I find that in this space, most of the people that I have the privilege of sitting in front of are that. Yeah. So if someone's not that and they don't believe with my sentence that I open with, I welcome them to buy a book. I welcome them to download a video. Right. But we're going to move on from that because this content is for you. But what I will say is one of the things that we talk about in the church and out of the word of God as a believer is being unequally yoked with unbelievers or some are. Yeah. Unequally yoked. I did a video on this summer and it's just happening. Yeah. And as I talk about in the book, we have modern women, which is not a bad thing, dating city boys, upset that a city boy will not commit. And then once they get to a modern man, they believe that 3 city boys and him are the same. He's not the same person. He doesn't have the same motivation. He doesn't have the same desired outcome. And so we have a modern woman who has had 3 strings of city boys and then a male. And then by the time she gets to a traditional man, it's confusing. She's confused. What's going on? What do you mean you want me to be home? What do you mean you want to be able to want to take care of everything and take care of me and the kids and be faithful and committed and lead us the way Christ has called us? What? No. That's not what men do. Not the men in my life. Not the men that I've been with. Not my dad. Not my uncle. Not my granddaddy. So that goes back to what I said earlier: not knowing who you are, knowing what you want.
Let's talk about that, because here's the thing, especially when you're dealing with relationships, some people, you want something. I want it to rain, but I don't want to get wet. Or you desire that certain thing because, maybe rap videos or TV, the ratchetness and all these things, but it comes with a price and it comes with a cause and effect. That's why you calling all men dogs. That's why you calling all women B's and H's, because of the simple fact of you're gravitating towards something that you're not even interested in. Just want you to kind of touch on that a little bit more, because I think a lot of times we're blinded by that. We're blinded by that cause and effect aspect of our relationships.
Well, let's talk about the cause and effect. In part one of the book, in chapter one, we talk about how we got here. And what I said is, I used the example of my two grandfathers, both from Mississippi, different counties, went to World War II. Now, for the younger generation that's watching this video, the fact that men returned from that brutal war is a miracle.
Yeah.
Because it was a bloody war. They came back, relocated to Northwest Indiana, bought homes after getting married. They were married to the same woman until they died.
Yeah.
And they went back and got the woman from their home county from a good family. And then transported those women to the same neighborhood, lived on the same street at different ends. That's how my parents met. Now, we went from a local economy from dating options, meaning my parents met on the same street. They were in the local neighborhood. Then we went to city, meaning it would be high school, rival high school, crosstown high school, etc. Then they went to state, where it was now people were, instead of just graduating high school, going to college. And most people at that time went to a state college, or if they had the privilege of having their parents go to another college, they would just follow in their parents' footsteps, their grandparents' footsteps. So now we're talking about two generations, baby boomers to Gen X, that went from local to state to regional. Because then we may go out of state over the border. Indiana people would go to Ohio school, Illinois, Michigan, or Kentucky school. So your options increased. Then it blew up. We got MTV, BET, VH1, Nickelodeon. And so we started to have a national view. And what we have now is an international view, because we have the illusion of choice. So because we have the illusion of choice, and what was different than what my grandfathers were offered is people think that there's always something better. So they have no ability to stick to anything because they think their next person is around the corner. That's another trend I was seeing. I do these react videos and I get exhausted. But it's just like, I don't want to look at this. People send me videos all the time. It's like, I don't want to look at, there's another guy around the corner, yet she's crying in a bowl of soup, chicken soup. It's exhausting to watch, and it has to be exhausting to live. So talking about know who you are and knowing what you want. Because once you know who you are and know what you want, again, if you decide that I want to be a modern man, I am going to only settle for and be with a modern woman. You don't spend time with city girls, chicks, and gals, or females, because they don't qualify for what you're looking for, which is marriage. So that's where the qualification comes in. Because the city girl is just looking for the bag. She's a baddie. She's a boss. She's a diva. She's going to take care of her kids, take care of her mama, her sister, her brother. You are just there to be an accessory. So why are you, as a modern man, trying to have something work with the city girl when you have this long-term legacy that you're trying to build over a 40-year period? She's incapable of thinking like that. She's thinking like, this year, I want to make 200. Next year, I want to go to 300. Next year, I want to do $1 million with my business. And that is okay. We're just saying, don't be a city girl trying to be with a modern man, and don't be a modern man trying to be with a city girl, because the city needs to be for the city. City boy and the city girl love and go have a little city life. Them people, they married 45 years together.
They love it. Yeah.
They love it. Fighting each other, running on each other, and like, I still love him. I still love her. So,
pretty good, man. We're kind of tiptoeing around it. I want to go ahead and dig into the middle ground. Let's talk about this amazing book. Why is the topic so important today?
Today, yeah. So first, I didn't want to write this book. I had a totally different book. I wrote a sales book that no one wants to read. As I was, going through my own journey post-divorce, trying to go back into the spirit of feeling like I could be a husband and be capable, there was work that had to be done.
Mm.
So prior to that, I started doing articles, doing research, doing like focus groups, and just having normal run of the mill conversations with clients, with employees. And I learned that business success had, in most instances, a negative impact on the relationship if you didn't do your work up front.
Mm.
Because trying to get it to change and trying to adjust the relationship is really difficult when someone signs up for something else.
Mm.
So as I was coaching my team members, I said, instead of coaching just on production, let's coach on the total man or the total woman. I want you to show up and be the best version of yourself.
Mm.
So what's going on? If there was a dip in production, I would stop and pause, make sure nothing was going on from a health standpoint. But most of the time, it was the relationship. It was an issue with the child or the mother, the child or the mother, the father of that child. It was often a breakup. It was often some trauma or abuse. It was often something related to it. And
Mm.
as people became more successful, that partner they chose became more resentful.
Mm.
So I went through the process, went through my own pain. And then when I came out from it, one of the things that was challenged was write a book. I wrote a completely different book. So what really inspired it with all of that background was,
Yeah.
as I met my now wife of 6 years, I had to court her different because I identified she was not like anyone else. She is a modern woman, and that was not going to change. Now I have a
Yeah.
theory behind that, but she was a modern woman. So as a modern woman and approaching a modern woman, there are things that you just have to understand that are a part of the package.
Yeah.
And so I changed the way that I interacted with her from the way that I interacted with anyone else. So as we went through our own journey and got to year 3, where we were preparing for the birth of our first child,
Mm-hmm.
I was out on a medical leave. So I finished up the book while I was out. So I
Oh.
just was at the computer while I was healing, typing, and I changed from the first version of this book to this book because the relationship outcome through my lens was the most important thing.
Amazing.
And why it's so important today is because what we, like I said earlier, what we hear in this space is so negative. It's so over the top. The tones of it are in a way that discourage people from
Yeah.
doing the work of themselves and discourage people from getting into a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because, like I said, we don't have those examples, one, and then two, we don't have the conversations around how to make it work. There's a vulnerability that goes in there, and we just don't have that anymore. The first thing when someone comes to me and they say, man, I'm just not getting the outcome that I want, I'm like, great, here's the first thing you do. You ready? Yeah, take out your phone, delete all your social media. You don't have to take off the notifications. Don't be tempted to go on there because what you do right now is you compare your life subconsciously with everyone you see.
Yeah.
And you keep score. You say, I got a bigger house. My kid's better. I got a wife. I have a husband. I have a better job. I have a new car. Or I want to go to Dubai. I want to go to the Maldives. I'd like to stack money. I'd like crypto. I'd like to get in real estate. I should get in real estate. Why am I not looking good? Why is my health not there? I want to work out. Oh, they losing weight. Oh, they did a marathon. I want to do a marathon. Just like that. If no one in the audience understands this, I want you to hear me. You spend more time on your phone than watching TVs and movies. The only thing that America consumes at a high level anymore is football, college football, and the NFL. You're on your phone on YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, across every demographic, which is why those companies are so valuable, and which is why the attention economy is a real economy now.
Yeah.
So you are literally feeding in programming, and that programming that you're getting is going to change your outlook on your life, regardless of what the reality is.
Mm.
So that's the first thing that I say. I was like, delete your social media because you have a false sense or an incorrect sense of who you are because you spend all day comparing yourself to others. And we teach in the church, we are created in God's image. We are saved and we are called by faith, and we are covered by Christ Jesus. If they can't articulate that, they're not Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not a Christian, man. I don't believe in that. Go to the mosque, go to the synagogue, do something, please.
Yeah.
And then after you cut off social media and you get into the spiritual realm, then pick up a number of books. And since we're talking about relationships, here are the 3 books that I would say. The first is going to be His Needs, Her Needs by William F. Hardy, How to Have an Affair-Proof Marriage. The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and Good to Great. And the reason Good to Great is important is because it gives you your comparison fix on a quality company and a bad company. And every good company mastered relationships within the company, which had a net positive impact on their relationships with their family. So you've cut off social media, you've gotten yourself back into your spiritual life and on the spiritual path. You read 3 great books and you'll read another 6. We have a couple on our website. And then you look up at 6 months later. You will have a better outlook, you'll have a better disposition, and you won't be interested going back into social media, because I often get in trouble by friends and family. Did you see this on Facebook? I'm like, huh? No. I was like, I'm sorry, I did a pod, I traveled, I don't know. And it allows you to keep your mind focused on the things that are focused. That's just a quick thing. Everybody that's listening to this right now can do, and they will see a difference in 6 months.
This is good. And you are absolutely correct. I'm the same way, man. I get on social media to post podcasts and things like that. And some people say, oh, people want to know what's going on in your life. But it's like, I don't know. I just, one thing is, it's hard for me, even being a content creator, man. That's one of the most difficult things with me. It's just so great, not focusing on everybody else, but focusing on ourselves, man. It's really has taken our life to a whole nother level. And it's like, you kind of like in this bubble of joy, with this chaotics all around you, man. So I totally agree. What are 3 key lessons you would like the audience to take away from your book?
The first thing that's really simple, ladies, recognize the difference between a male and a man. A male looks like a man, talks like a man, sounds like a man, stands like a man, dresses like a man, acts like a man, but it's not a man. Men are able to evaluate the world around them. They are able to protect, provide, profess, and priest in their home, and they're looking for wives. Males cannot do that. The reason is males are always looking for someone to save them. They're always looking for mama to come along, grandmama, daddy, my brother, somebody, please help me get through this. They always are one phone call away or one meeting away from making it. But now it's 3 years later, you got 2 kids by him, your credit's messed up, you lost your hair, and you don't know how you got here because you didn't know the difference between a male and a man.
That's deep.
You want the other 2? I got 2 more. Go ahead. All right. City girl. The city don't really care about you. The city girl is 100%. Now, let me back up. 100%. We're not talking about the city girl artist. We're talking about the city girl culture that has been glamorized really since 2018 up until today of this recording. And that culture is what you spoke about, the ratchetness and glorifying uncouth behavior.
Yeah.
There was never a time, the 2 grandmothers that I saw, that I had, that I love to death, they would never be twerking. They would never be out here with vulgar language. They would never be out here drunk. That is what the city girl culture does. And all it does is destroy our young women. And here's the rub. The people who are glamorized don't really live that life. Don't want their daughters to grow up and be like that. And matter of fact, they're training their daughters to not be this, because this is not really what you want to do. And the city doesn't care about you. After 10 years of running the streets, after 10 years of going to rooftop bars, being on the beach, being on yachts, twerking, spending money on hair extensions, makeup, and I'm not talking about one group of women, one race. It's all of them.
Yeah.
You then look up at 31 and you're like, where did the time go? Where's my husband? I'm ready to have some kids. I'm ready to settle down. And you've spent your time for the city. And here's reality, because now you recognize the difference between a male and a man. The men are not interested because the men at the beginning of this discussion spent 22 to 32 building a high value skill. So their $150,000, $200,000 is harder than the men you are on the yacht. He is now going into his financial earning prime from 35 to 40, and then he's going to hit it, and then he's ready to move on. But he's not sharing that just with anyone. You probably dissed him because you were in the city. Stop doing that. And then I guess the final one, if we're going to, the three takeaways of the book is by not knowing who you qualify for, you waste time. Since you don't know who you qualify for, you spend time in delusion in la la land, thinking you're going to get a 6'2", 225 solid, 350K a year, 1 million in the bank man who is 22. Okay, that's an NBA player. And NBA players are less than 0.001% of the market of athletes. Yeah. So you're putting yourself at a disadvantage versus saying, you know what, I was a city girl. I'm good. I came out unscathed. I'm still here. God still loves me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to become the best version of myself. You go to homecoming the next year and you make sure that you acknowledge it and we move on to the next thing, which is getting on a program and making a deal. It's okay. Take the word settle out of your vocabulary because no one is settling. Everyone is solving the problem. No one wants to be alone. No one wants to be 70 and alone. No one wants to be 65 and alone. And kids don't count it. Don't give me the kids. You want to be with someone who is there to change your bedpan, who's there to make sure you take your medicine. You want somebody there who's gonna rub your feet because you got neuropathy. But and we didn't understand this growing up. That's why Big Daddy was so in love with Big Mama. Yeah. Big Mama gave him 7 kids. Yeah. Gave him 35 to 40 grandkids. Yeah. Made his house, built his house, went to work, started a business when he got laid off, doing sewing and dry cleaning, and all these things build a life that builds equity versus trying to go build a bag on your own and thinking that by building that bag on your own, you're going to be able to get your man to come in and behave. That is not how it works.
And man, I'm telling you, keep bringing up Big Mama, man. And you're right. I never seen Big Mama twerking. I never seen Big Mama showing her butt cheeks. I mean, Big Mama ain't do none of that, right? I mean, social media, everything always talk about all that's not popular, that's old fashioned. But I haven't met a man yet that don't like and don't appreciate who Big Mama was.
Because Big Mama did the nurturing and the raising. It created an appreciation for it.
Great. Thank you. If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yes, first, always go to themiddlegroundbook.com. That's our website where we have all of our connections for social media. On Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, it is The Middle Ground Book. On Instagram, it's The Middle Ground Book. And there you can connect with each of our followers. A lot of times the conversation gets going on videos like this after we post them. And we just like to take all of that in as we continue to work.
And everything is going to be in the show notes. So go ahead and just scroll down to the show notes and all these platforms. You can look it up right there. Glenn, thank you. I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It has been a pleasure. And thank you, audience, for listening. Make sure you put these things into practice.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC as we continue to help you take your relationships from surviving to thriving. Bye.